Welcome to Buckets. My name is Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network, coming to you from the Tommy John home studios. For this, your best bets for Friday, November 22nd in the association. On today's show, we'll give you best bets from Jay Money and Bryan Fonseca, who are giggling on this broadcast instead of being the professionals that they need to be, which you can see if you go to youtube.com/the Action Network and check out all of our great shows, all of our great podcasts. Go to youtube.com/the Action Network. Go click on the little subscribe and like button, because shows like this need your support. You don't need to show support for the big ones that have thousands and thousands and hundreds and millions of views. You need to support shows like this one because you know this is quality content. Go over to youtube.com/the Action Network and hit like and subscribe. Also download the Action Network app because you can get notifications like when I bet the Charlotte Hornets and Detroit Pistons to go to overtime at 14-1 on the NBA bet stream presented by DraftKings Sportsbook on Thursday on the League Pass app. I didn't just track it in the app. I was on a TV show. My mom could have watched me pick that bet, and I hit it 14-1. My mom would not watch Charlotte versus Detroit. That's not a thing that she would do. All right. Before we get started, I got Bryan Fonseca here at Bryan Fonseca NY on Twitter, Action Network app. At Jay Money's here. Jay Money is Money on Twitter. Follow his YouTube page as well. I want to talk about the Boston Celtics. Boston Celtics got the win on Tuesday. It's been a couple days. They got the win versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. Unfortunately, the spread did not cash, but Jay luckily had the Celtics in parlays, but his best bet that night did not cash because I pulled the Cavs plus 4.5 from betwixt the butt cheeks and got that cover. It was a phenomenal cover for me. I had it the whole way, never in doubt. As of right now, Jay, the Boston Celtics at FanDuel Sportsbook are plus 100 to win the Eastern Conference. Okay. I have my own opinion on this, and I have generational hater Bryan Fonseca here with me to back me up. But I want to get your thoughts right now. You're not a futures better, big time. You bet some. I saw that you actually put it. I want to ask you about that win total you put in a minute. But with the Boston Celtics, are you in like last year you were like, they're winning, they're going to win the things, I'm betting them. Are you right back there with them this year?
Nowhere near as confident. I still think they're the best team in the East, but I mean, the East got a lot better as well. It'd be really interesting to see if teams like the Bucks and the Sixers can get their head out of their ass, because they are two teams that I thought could possibly challenge the Celtics, and also the Knicks as well. Like, we still haven't seen them. I think their starting five could definitely bang with Celtics. It's all about them. Can they get healthy? Can they get really great production from Campaign, Preston Achua, and McBride coming off the bench? So those three teams still scare me. I thought last year was like, that was the year for the Celtics. No one was touching them. People can make excuses about injuries. It doesn't matter. Everyone could have been healthy. The Celtics were winning that regardless. And you can't forget about the Cavs as well. The Cavs, they actually match up really well with the Celtics as well. Even if they have Porzingis, they have advantages down low with Mobley and Jared Allen as well. It's just all on Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. Can they continue to be at least a little like above average defensively and able to hit those 3-pointers and get it to the paint as well? So there's really 3 teams that scare me, 3 to 4 teams that scare me that could actually go up against the Celtics here. So I don't think it's as easy of a bet as it was last year. I probably wouldn't take the plus 100. I think there's we always talk about value. Value doesn't really matter if it doesn't win, but I don't think that the value is there on the Celtics. I think they should be like plus 150 right now. Plus 100 means they would probably like the best team by far, and I don't feel that exact same way this year.
Yeah, Bryan, I'll just say, like, this is a ridiculous number. This is a ridiculous. And look, I thought that they got unfairly maligned for the playoff run, where it was like, oh, well, all these teams were hurt, and so this is what people do is like, well, all these teams were hurt and they won, so actually they're garbage. And it's like, no. They still mostly swept their way through. But now we've gone the other way, Bryan, where now everybody's like, championship pedigree, heart of a champion. They just know how to get it done. Who is stopping this team? Who could possibly stop this team that shot 57% from 3 in the first half and hit 14 threes and then was in a 2-point game at the end of this contest versus the Cavaliers at home? Now, I get it. Kristaps Porzingis is not there, and I think KP matters. It was a big reason why I was like, "This is like why we were on the win total over last year." It was like, look, KP fundamentally changes this team. You have no way to be able to tell me, not guarantee. You can't even give me if we're looking at odds for KP to play the entire playoffs next year. I'm saying that's less than 50%. Like, that's just dealing with the reality of KP's injury history. If he's healthy, that fundamentally does change them, but it still doesn't make them invincible. They had an amazing season last year, Brian. But this is not an all-time team. And I could say both of those things and give them proper credit. So I really think that I think this number is ridiculous. The problem is, in the Eastern Conference, I don't know where else to go with my money. I don't know how to fade this, Brian, with where we're at right now.
Heat?
Yeah, especially when you look at
Heat sympathizer, Brian.
Especially when you look at sportsbooks, and I'm seeing that the Sixers are fourth in terms of like having the fourth shortest. Like, what are we doing there? And Milwaukee is right after them, and neither of them have looked inspiring. There's a world where Philly doesn't even make the playoffs. Like, I'm somebody who's sitting pretty, I think, with Sixers to make the play-in, and I'm like, I'm not even sure they're gonna do that. I think they should, but we don't entirely know. Look, I think where I'm at with Boston, it's just a gray area here, right? I think last year they kind of beat the respect out of me, as they did with a lot of other people. But at the same time, we could go back and say, hey, like, they did have breaks in their direction, which is fine because, like, champions, this happens sometimes. You have injury luck, and they lost Porzingis, so it wasn't totally luck, but it was like they were good enough to where it didn't matter. And they're still really good. Like, they're putting up 53s a game, and they're making a shit ton of them. 53s a game. That's a ridiculous amount of 3-pointers on a ridiculous amount, with a ridiculous amount of makes. But plus 125 is the best I'm seeing it right now also. And it's still like, it's not a number worth grabbing, especially if you're me and you were high on Cleveland coming into the season. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you with confidence that Cleveland could absolutely beat Boston in a playoff series. But Cleveland was injured during that playoff series last year. They have a better coach for their roster in Kenny Atkinson. And if you are taking a future, you're taking it on the premise of, hey, something can break right for this team. For Cleveland, who just lost that game against Boston, they lost it without 3 rotation players in Dean Wade, Isaac Okoro, and Karis LeVert, which isn't nothing. And I don't know how aggressive their front office aspires to be, but the time is kind of now. And I think, like, if you're Cleveland, you want to at least make the Eastern Conference Finals. And I think if you're taking a future, you have to be saying to yourself, this team could at least make it to the Eastern Conference Finals and then maybe surprise, maybe catch a break or whatever the case may be. But it's hard to look beyond, like, just the Knicks and the Cavaliers. And the Knicks price, I mean, my issue with the Knicks is their defense and their depth. 2 things you really need to win a championship. Like, they're struggling in those areas. They have a bottom 10 defense right now. And there's not really a pathway to their defense becoming anything like it was last year, because at the 1 and at the 5, their defense is just not great. But their offense is elite right now. But the defense isn't great. And also the bench. Like, they're already playing guys 40-plus minutes. Like, all the starters, you have 2 of the top 10 guys in minutes, 3 of the top 10 guys in your starting 5 in minutes. OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, and Josh Hart are up there in minutes already. And on top of that, Deuce McBride, who's been carrying your bench for most of the season, is already hurt. And you're already seeing, like, Matt Ryan get minutes and Tyler Kolek get minutes and Ariel Hawk-Purdy get minutes. Whereas Cleveland, I feel a little bit better about their depth. There is something to be said about how much better their chemistry looks this year. But it's hard to look beyond that. Like, Jay threw out the heat, and I know we're kind of joking here, but I don't really see a pathway to that this year. And I'm somebody who, like, I hold out hope. In terms of, like, I hold out, like, maybe they can do it. And they're a scary team to doubt. But honestly, like, I just do not see that team pulling it together this year in that way. And I don't think Orlando's ready. And then before you know it, we're talking about the Atlanta Hawks. So why bother?
Or the Miami Heat.
Yeah, I just can't get there. I just can't get there.
Here's, like, a crazy one. Okay, so Celtics to win the title is as low as plus 100. There's a plus 125 in the market, as Brian said.
Yeah. No reason
the
to do it
Atlantic
right now.
Division to win the NBA title at BetMGM is plus 160.
Yeah.
Like, would you rather take the Celtics to win the Eastern Conference at plus 100, or Knicks or Celtics or Sixers,
or Nets or Raptors,
or Sixers to win the title at plus 160? Like, that's a better value. So the point here is
that a good enough number though, Matt? I don't feel like it is.
I don't think it. I mean, it's not the thing I want right now, right? Because I don't.
Yeah, it's
I
way
don't,
too early. It's way too early.
It's not just that it's way too early. It is way too early. But if we're saying, like, I don't want to buy the Celtics at plus 100 to win the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
And we're looking at the Knicks, and we're like, the defense, the depth. And we're looking at the rest of the conference and being like, okay, it's the Cavs and a bunch of slapdicks. Then, like, what are we doing here? Right?
But
the answer is, I will say, like, I have a little bit of interest in Orlando from when Paolo was there, the offense was so much better. But I just, like, I'm like trying to envision myself in May having a Magic Eastern Conference ticket and watching Orlando shoot 3 of 22 from 3 while the Celtics are 17 of 34. And just being like, why? Why did I do this?
Well, okay. One of the things that I like to highlight, and this is betting on front offices. Who is the front office that's going to try to make a considerable move between now and February to try to upgrade their roster?
Sam Presti.
And what's in the Eastern Conference?
Yeah.
And what is that move even?
Yeah.
And I would like to say Milwaukee is probably that team, but they look so like fractured right now where it's like they can go the other way.
I'm not willing to bet this, but I like where you're thinking. Jay's shaking his head no. There is a team, but Jay's shaking his head. Jay, why are you shaking your head?
Because Brook Lopez has to go. That's the move that the Bucks need to make. They'll be 10 times better if they get rid of Brook Lopez. The guy has to go.
Why?
Like yesterday.
Why?
You said what? His
Why?
defense, he can't guard anyone. You're not trying. He's too slow-footed. His time is gone. His time is up. The Bucks. I thought that they wouldn't even re-sign him. He wouldn't be back this year or Trae. I don't know what the contract was, but I think they re-signed him or something like that. But regardless, I think that would have been a major addition by subtraction, getting rid of Brook Lopez. I don't care if you're running Giannis at the 5 until you find another center. So I'd rather have Paul Reed or someone rather than Brook Lopez. The guy his days in today's NBA are done. He can barely get up and down the floor. I've seen enough.
Okay. The numbers disagree with you, but I'm not going to throw them out there because it won't make any difference. The team, I thought that Brian's idea of like who's the team that can actually improve. I think it's Indiana.
Yeah.
Like, if they want to, they can move Miles Turner. If they want to, they can move Andrew Nembhard. If they want to, they can move Aaron Nesmith. If they want to, they can move Obi Toppin. If they want to, they can move Benedict Mathurin.
Yeah.
If they want to, I guess they can move Tyrese Halliburton, considering he's playing like garbage. But like,
I don't think they should move any of those guys other than Obi Toppin. I think the Pacers are just good enough, just like this. They're missing guys right now.
I agree. But I'm saying it. So you got to think of it less from they need, like, front offices don't. I'll say this from having talked to them. Like, front offices never want to move. I don't know why. They never want to make a deal when it's like, we need to do this, because they're dealing from a position of weakness and they feel like the market will eat them up. They'll just get a bad deal and then they'll get fired for it. What they do is they deal from positions of opportunity. So let's say that the Pacers get people back and then Tyrese Halliburton starts playing like the player that I put him as when I had him as the 8th best player or 6th best player in the NBA this season on my top 100 list. Like, let's say that he gets back to playing like an offensive engine. If they're rolling going into All-Star, I think that front office is actually going to be aggressive. And I think they'll be like, what if we got a third guy to go with Halliburton and Siakam, and if they didn't have to give up Turner? Like, if they got another guy, what does that look like? Maybe Mathurin's that guy, because he's been great, but
I think so.
What does that look like? So I just think it's kind of an interesting question. But right now, I don't want to bet the Pacers either. Even though I think that they give the Celtics problems, they still got swept last year, even with Hallie's injury. Like, they got swept. So, like, even with as close as game 1 was. I can't do it right now. But come January, Brian, I want to find a bet in the Eastern Conference that's not Boston.
Yeah, and injuries are going to be part of this because, like, unfortunately, Indiana dealt with this already because they lost Isaiah Jackson and James Wiseman, 2 potential backup centers in their potential playoff rotation. Both tore their Achilles. So, I mean, and if you look up just their salary structure. I mean, Miles Turner's an expiring contract. Expiring contracts are always tradable, especially in this NBA, even with the second apron era that we're in. Miles Turner's at about 20 million, just short of that. Obi Toppin's north of 12. Aaron Nesmith is at 11, 11, 11 for the next 3 years. Like, these are all movable deals. TJ McConnell could act as salary filler too. Like, there are some things they could do. I don't know their draft pick situation off the top of my head, but I know that they have some that they could potentially use. I don't know what the type of player could be, but there are going to be, unfortunately, and especially in this era of the NBA that we're in, over the next couple of months, there are going to be players who get injured who then may pull some teams out of the race, or may put some teams in the race if they see an opportunity. So I need to see how the Eastern Conference shakes up, because as we're talking now, there are like 4 teams in the Eastern Conference above 500. And I don't think that's going to last the entire season. I think the Eastern Conference eventually gets their shit together, even if it means them just beating up on each other.
This is a lot of conversation to say. There's value there. I just can't find it. There's value. There's a bet to make. I just don't know what it is. So, that's helpful for you. Before we move on here, a quick announcement. Action Network is running back our annual Black Friday sale, offering our best prices of the year on a year-long Action Pro subscription. So if you still aren't a pro subscriber, visit actionnetwork.com/Black Friday to get $40 off a year of pro and receive instant access to all the picks and projections from our guys, Colin, Calabrese, the whole Action Network team, as well as instant picks from guys like Brandon Anderson. That's actionnetwork.com/Black Friday for the best price of the year on Action Pro. Let's do best bets for the Friday slate. NBA Cup action continues in the association. Let's start with Bryan Fonseca. What's your best bet for Friday?
Playing with fire here, but I'll take Tyrese Maxey over 14.5 points.
Okay, nothing like a Philadelphia 76ers bet right now.
Yeah.
Jay Money, what's your best bet for Friday?
Give me the Kings money line minus 126.
Okay. I don't want to go up against Jay.
Again?
I want to do it.
Again?
Good.
I did last time, and it worked out okay because the Cavs pulled one out of their butt. But
so Jay's due.
Go with your good.
Jay's due.
I always say go with your good. That's what I say.
I am going to. Tough. I'm playing Brooklyn plus 7.5 with a sprinkle on the money line.
I took that too. Actually.
I am gonna go ahead and grab the 2.5 with the Sacramento or the Los Angeles Clippers rather.
You said it right.
I can't believe I'm gonna do this.
No,
I'm taking the Atlanta Hawks on the money line. That's it. What I'm doing. Let's do Jay's first. So Jay, give me the cap on the Kings.
Yeah, they got their players back. They hadn't had a chance to practice as well. They finally ended up getting some practice in. Would like to get Malik Monk back here, but he won't be here. But Sabonis and DeRozan will be enough. They have their big three. They still have an opportunity to possibly do well and possibly win the NBA Cup as well, or to go to the finals. So I'll back the Kings here. I think this is a bounce back spot. This is also a revenge spot as well. They lost to the Clippers a few weeks ago as well, I believe. But they definitely lost in Sacramento. Just think this is a nice, great bounce back spot. Clippers been playing a little bit over their head, in my opinion. I believe they've won 6 straight at the house, but this will be one of the best offenses that they've faced, other than the Warriors there. But like I say, they're getting back healthy here, and I think it's a great spot for the Kings here.
6-4 against the spread at home for the Clippers. Norman Powell now out with an injury. That's a big one that I probably should factor more into the power rating. I just can't get there on the number of the Kings laying 2.5. I just can't get there. I've got power rated with this. Even if I adjust a little bit for Norman Powell, I can't get there to Kings minus 2.5. I think this should be closer to pick them. So I'll go ahead and I'll grab the Clippers here based off of the fact that they're annoying and they win and cover games that they shouldn't. I will say this. If I do not win this bet, I will not bet on a Clippers game in the National Basketball Association in any facet until 2025. That is my promise right now, because I have been burned by them. The worst was when they beat the Warriors straight up back on November 18th last week. They were 5.5 point dogs on the second night of a back-to-back 3rd and 4. The Warriors coming off of 2 nights rest, and I was like, let's go! And then they won outright. So, yeah. The Clippers team I think is annoying. this Kings team I don't have a lot of faith in. They don't seem to be able to put things consistently together. You got guys coming back from injury too, and sometimes that takes. Now it's been like only a couple of games, but I'm not sure about the rhythm. Like they're still trying to figure out the rotation a little bit, and all those things combined with how the Clippers are just kind of weirdos. I'll go ahead and I'll take the Clippers here up against Jay, but Jay obviously confident in the Kings.
Powell did have 31 points that last game, so I do think that could possibly be a huge loss here. They did well versus the Magic, but this particular game, I do think that the Kings have the much better shooting. I think hopefully, I mean, obviously today's NBA games are all about shooting variance, but I think the Kings will be able to knock down some threes. I think their offense will look a lot. I mean, look, they really missed Sabonis. I mean, Sabonis, you could argue, I mean, obviously Fox is really important, but you could argue Sabonis is one of the most important players to their offense. Like without him, there's no way I'm betting the Kings. But with him back and their closer, DeRozan, with Fox as well, I think that three-headed monster is going to be too much for Clippers offense. And like I said, it's been playing over their head, in my opinion.
All right, head-to-head, me and Jay. Brian, let's talk about the Sixers game, and then we'll get to your prop. Because I put this in there today and was like, I think actually you were the one that was like, the Nets are 5.5. Like it was 7.5 at open.
Yeah,
it was 7.5. It's down to 5.5.
Yeah.
I bet at 7.5. I still like it 5.5. There's not going to be a number this is going to get to. I get it. I understand Joel Embiid's back. I get it. They have two of the guys, right? It's Maxey and Embiid. I understand that. But like the question, here's the question: are the Sixers suddenly just going to look good? I think it's an interesting question because it's like they've been so bad. When they're not bad, are they going to look good? Because if they do, they win this by margin. This is like Sixers by 20. But the Nets have been obstinate. Like they are winning games. Not like a lot, but like they're screwing up their chances at capture the flag. I don't know what they're doing. Like they're going the wrong way here. Embiid should eat, but Embiid's looked horrible. I can't believe. I understand why this line is what it is because they're still tied to preseason power rating, and like preseason power rating, this would be double digits. So I get it. I'm just willing to go ahead and say that there is no bottom here and fade the Sixers here at what was 7.5, now 5.5.
Yeah, I think a lot of this is just Vegas is like, hey, they're going to turn it around at some point. This is a spot, and it's like, given how the Nets have played. Like I was with you on Nets plus 7.5. Like at bare minimum, we know this team's going to fight. They remind me a good amount of like the first, maybe the second actually, Kenny Atkinson Nets team, because the first one was, I mean, Jeremy Lin was basically their best player and Brook Lopez, but Jeremy Lin was their most impactful player when he was there, and that was a 20-win team that was also banged up for a lot of the year. This team is probably closer to like the 2017-18 team that had D'Angelo Russell, Spencer Dinwiddie. Karis LeVert was coming into his own. Rondae Hollis-Jefferson had his best season. And they didn't have a guy like Cam Thomas on the team. Not necessarily saying better or worse, just a guy like him. Cam Thomas, who I thought may have factored into the line a bit, he's probable as of this recording. He was questionable. He's probable now. It's probably why this moved a little bit. Dorian Finney-Smith is questionable. We'll see if he plays. I think that would matter if he does. Day'Ron Sharpe is going to be out. Nick Claxton's going to be out. So, I mean, maybe this is a spot for Joel Embiid to have his way sort of in the middle. But, I mean, Jordy Fernandez is a good coach. Like, legitimately, I think he's going to be a good coach in the NBA. He's been a good coach internationally already with Team Canada. And I think with the Nets, like, for now at least, like maybe the bottom falls off and they start actually losing the games they're supposed to lose, but they're at least fighting and competitive in a lot of these for the most part. And that in and itself is a recipe for Philadelphia to actually like, hey, this was supposed to go our way, and then they're playing all frazzled and they struggle. Like for Philly, this feels like, if anything, a narrative spot where all the shit that they've sort of, I guess, air quotes, dealt with in the public over the last 48 hours, and then they just put it behind them and just smack the Nets. Like that's probably what should happen here, especially when they're 2-12. When are they going to get out of it? But like you, I'm not at the point where it's like they're definitively going to get out of this. Like I'm just not there with that. Maybe that'll change after this game, but I need more evidence, I guess is what I'm saying.
Jay, you're really good in these motivational spots. You've got a really good read on these type of things. I need your read on this. I know you don't want to talk about the Sixers, but I need your read on this game. And like, is this like is this the bounce back spot? Is this the get right spot? Is this like the Sixers smash them? Like, am I walking into a trap here?
I don't think you're walking into a trap. I mean, it's Nets or nothing for me. I want absolutely nothing to do with the Sixers. I think this team was a lot better than they have been playing. I mean, they should have won their last game as well. I thought that maybe even when they got their big three back, but it's just this team is cursed this year. As you see it, they get the big three back, then Paul George goes out. I want no parts to do with this team. As you guys know, I do a YouTube show. The Sixers will not be discussed on my show for the foreseeable future. This team does not even exist to me right now. So what I would say is either fade them or stay off the game, but it's not a game that I'll be watching. I won't have any action on. Maybe something's going on in the locker room or something, but I don't really have this is not a sharp look for like the Sixers, in my opinion. I'm definitely not going anywhere near laying points with them as well. They are at the house. Things should get better, but it just kind of feels like the Suns team of last year where I think Nick Nurse is a great coach, but maybe he's not the coach for the team. They have great players. They have depth. It's just not coming together. But like when you're up 19 versus the Heat and then you turn around and down 19, those things should never happen if you're a great team. Like you have to put your foot on. There's no excuse why you lose that game. It's games like that which really make me think that something's broken with the team. So I can't talk you guys off. Nets or nothing. The Sixers will not be on my show for the foreseeable future, and I mean that.
Like, so I think it'll turn for them. And it might turn this game, and I'm willing to lose if I'm wrong and it turns on this game.
That's right.
I'm not, if the number wasn't what it was, and if it gets any lower, like I'll tell you, if you wake up on Friday and this is 4, so it just pass on by. You don't need this one. Okay. At 5.5, I still think it's worth a play. Nothing below 5. But I'm willing to bet because of the number, right? This isn't just like the Sixers have been sucking. I want to bet against the Sixers because the Sixers suck. That's got nothing to do with this. This is based on the results of the season. There's no indication here the Nets should be this much. They should be 5.5 point dogs to this Sixers team. That they have not played like a team that should cover by 6 points or more versus the Brooklyn Nets. And under those conditions, with the fact that they've kept losing, I'm willing to go ahead and bet it. Like, I don't want to be the type of bettor that's like, oh, but they're going to turn it around, and I don't want to be on the bad end of that. Like, the streaks happen for a reason. You're in a bad spot, and they're in a bad spot, and maybe they'll turn. But I'm willing to bet on the Nets in this one. Finally, I'm betting the Atlanta Hawks to win outright versus the Chicago Bulls. Where's Jim Turvey? I just want to read you this. Okay, this is the Hawks on the road. Okay, on October 30th, the Atlanta Hawks lost to the Washington Wizards by 13 points. Okay. On November 12th, 2 weeks later, they beat the Boston Celtics outright.
Without Trae Young.
They are agents of chaos. Like, this team got waxed by the Warriors the other night by 23 points. They beat the Kings on the road. They lost to the Blazers and then beat the Kings. I will say this, there are these teams that you do not know what to expect night after night. And I think that in this spot in particular, this is one where I actually want to back them. I make this Hawks minus 2.5. I'm getting 1. I'll take the money line. The Bulls this season, here's a number for you. The Bulls at home are 1-5 with an average margin of loss of 13.8 points per game. Their ATS margin is minus 8.8, and that's not just because they lost to the Rockets by, that's right, 36 points the other night. They still lost to the Jazz at home outright by 9. Think about that. They lost to the Utah Jazz at home. Their sole win was versus the Magic in the days after the Paolo injury, I'm pretty sure. No, that was like a really close one. That was one where Paolo got injured. He got injured in that game. They lost to the Cavs close, fine. They lost to the Wolves by 16, fine. But like, the Bulls have been awful at home. That's why I get here on this number is the Bulls have been so bad at home. my power rating makes this like a negative spot for the Bulls based off of their in-season performance at home. But even if I apply something more normalized, I don't get to where the Bulls necessarily should be 1-point favorite. I will take Atlanta in this spot. Brian, am I playing with fire, playing the Hawks here?
Yes.
I mean, I obviously am as the Hawks, but
yes.
in general.
This is a game I want no parts of. Maybe prop wise, I'll look at some things, but I can't. Like
Bunch
the
of
Hawks,
cowards on the show tonight. Both of you being like, I don't want any part of this. I'm staying away. Too scared. It's you gotta get the money in now. We gotta stay away from games in March. Now is when we gotta make hay.
I couldn't tell you the last time I bet a Hawks money line.
Yeah, fair enough.
Could not tell you.
Fair enough.
Like I could not. I don't even know when was the last time I did it. But yeah, I think you're playing with fire. But I mean, hey man, good luck. I mean,
either team that you bet on here, you're playing with fire. But shout out to Dyson Daniels. He's bringing defense back. He's last of a dying breed. He actually cares about defense, something that maybe less than 5% of NBA players actually do. So shout out to Dyson Daniels. Look towards his steals, like every game.
The Great Barrier Thief. What a player. Here's the other problem. If I like the Hawks here, then I gotta like them for the cup because they're plus 140. I do want to mention this. So the Celtics tomorrow are in action versus the Washington Wizards, and they are 15-point favorites. That number hasn't moved. I kind of thought it might tick up. So I do want to touch on this. If you like this, if you think the Celtics win the Wizards game, and if you think they care about the cup, Mazzulla last year wouldn't mess with the point differential until the last game. That was the only one that he would mess with. And this isn't their last cup game, so they can just win this one. But if they want to win, they need to win the Wizards game by about 30 points because they have to make up ground on the Cavs and the Hawks in point differential for tiebreaker. I don't know. I haven't been able to figure out whether I want to take like Celtics minus 25 or whatever. It's already so high. You're not getting great value on it. I can't really get a feel for it. I will say Celtics are plus 250. If you think that the Celtics can win by margin, it's probably better to be like, just bet the Celtics at plus 250 to win the group. Because if they're running it up, they can win the group. But if they don't run it up, they probably can't win the group. We'll see what happens. All right, that's going to do it for Best Bets. Thanks for joining us. Jay Money is on the Kings tomorrow night versus the Los Angeles Clippers. I'm head-to-head to him with the Clippers plus 2.5. Brian Fonseca is taking Tyrese Maxey. Oh, I didn't even let you give your best bet, Brian. Give me the cap on Maxey.
I mean, buy low, get back spot, bounce back spot, whatever you want to call it. Like, it's just a low number for a player who I don't worry about him as much physically as I do with Joel Embiid. And I think that, at least from a defensive perspective, he's going to have his opportunities against the Nets to get, we're talking about 15 points for a great player who's gotten at least 15 in every game he's played this season, except for the last one and the one before that where he got hurt. So, like, I'm not going to get Tyrese Maxey at 14.5 probably again. Last time we saw him, he was inefficient against the Grizzlies. It was his first game back. And, now with Paul George out, I think that's going to help a little bit because now we can get back to like Maxey and Embiid ball that we saw last year. There's not going to be like integrating Paul George, who's been bad this year, regardless. And I mean, with Philadelphia, how else are they going to get points other than Maxey and Embiid in this game? Like, realistically, maybe Kelly Oubre gets hot. I don't know. Caleb Martin. I mean, okay. But I think with Tyrese Maxey, like, you have Cam Thomas is probable. Dennis Schroeder's going to be there. He'll have his opportunities. He'll have volume. We saw him have volume right away as soon as he came back, and he was limited to 20 minutes. Maybe they'll lift up the minutes restriction a little bit. He gets closer to like 26, 28. If that's so, then I think he can get over 14.5 points.
I want to see something real quick because I'm very curious about what this looks like if we were to
parlay it.
Put a little parlay together.
Yeah.
You're trying to talk me into it, Brian. I will say, Matt, there's a pathway for both of us to win, man. Kings by 1 or 2. We both get the cash.
That'd be great.
That's true.
I like that. That'd be good. I'm always in favor of everyone of all numbers hit.
That could happen.
All bets cash. I'm looking at points.
Maxi's getting over that. I don't want to bet a Sixers game, Brian. Damn, why do you have to have a good play on this game, man? I want to bet Maxi to get 15 too.
And I'm with Matt. Like we both took 7.5, Nets 7.5 at about the same time, just because, like, I mean, look, the Nets are 10-4-1 against the spread this year, and Philly's like 3-11. It's like, yeah, okay, it may level off at some point, but as we've been saying all show, like, until it happens, like, I'm willing to be late to that party.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give you two options here, Brian. Same game parlay the coward's way, which is Tyrese Maxey over 14.5 points and Nets plus 10.5. Just keep it single digits.
Ooh.
Is plus 160. Okay. Or. Oh,
I think I know what you're gonna do.
You're going Nets money line.
You're gonna do Nets money line.
Money line. And Tyrese Maxey over 14.5 is plus 475.
Jesus Christ.
Very possible.
Do you want the coward's way, or do you want or the Brandon Anderson way? That's the question here.
The safe way. The safe way.
I have a question. I want to know, how is the graphics team going to promote this? Because I don't want to be out here recommending, hey, do this parlay, or I'm going. No, I don't do that. Okay, I just put what I put out there, and people can follow it if they want. But look, the more fun play, the more fun play. What was it? Plus 475 versus
plus 475. Maxey over 14.5. Nets money line.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you? Like, here's the thing. I want to have fun betting on chaos, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like, I mean,
you also don't want to make donations.
Probably not, but still.
You also don't want to make
donations. I like that.
You also don't
I like that. Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'll track both of them.
Can we not do a same game parlay? Just do a regular parlay.
I'll put a tenth of a unit on both of them, and we'll see which hits. The cowardly way for Jay Money, or the big bad bull way. Not for Brian, because Brian doesn't want to endorse it. We'll see which one of those hits. We'll track them both in the Action Network app and on the Parlay Express app, which you can catch in the Action Network app as well. Now you got me thinking like just pure chaos. I'm like, all right, let's do Nets money line and Hawks money line.
Oh my God.
Just full chaos. All right. No. This is a serious betting podcast. We will not do that. All right. That's going to do it for Best Bets. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys being with us here on a Friday. We're back on Monday with the Future Jays. We'll talk about the NBA Cup, get your best bets for that, as well as probably get some clutch player thoughts from Jim Turvey as well. Make sure to follow Bryan Fonseca in the Action Network app and on Twitter at Bryan Fonseca
and Blue Sky now.
And on Blue Sky as well, Bryan Fonseca NY. Jay Money is on Twitter at Jay Money is Money and on YouTube. We'll see you guys again next time. My thanks to David Payne, our producer, as well as Brady Rubino and the rest of the video crew getting us up at youtube.com/The Action Network. We'll see you guys again on Monday. Till then, let's get buckets.